Well, hello, international relations classes. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy and all that fun stuff. Wanted to provide this for you for the final exam. This is a review for it, so hopefully you're able to take notes and all that fun stuff. And I'm just going to go through the material on the exam. Our final exam will be what? Wednesday, April 29th, and basically you'll have from 12:01 a.m. on the 29th until 11:59 p.m. in the evening to take the exam. It'll be an online exam. You will have 65 minutes to take the exam with the material. There'll be 75 questions, okay? So it'll be over this material. So again, you're obviously, this is in video form, so you're able to watch it as many times as you'd like. So let's just go through this here, okay? We're gonna kind of go through each section of it. I might make multiple videos depending on how long this is, okay? If we exceed 15 minutes, I'll probably break it up into multiples, okay? You'll need to know something about the Clash of Civilizations. Remember Samuel Huntington and his Clash of Civilizations thesis. Understand that. Understand Norman Angell and how he was writing in the early 20th century about what he thought. Basically, he thought that a European war was impossible. Of course, he wrote something in 1910, just before the war broke out. So know something about that in the text there, in that particular chapter. Let's see, what else we got here. Okay, again, you'll need to know the various theories of the end of history in the last chapter, in chapter 9. And so you'll need to know, like, the end of history theory by Fukuyama. You'll need to know the one world theory. You'll need to know, obviously, Clash of Civilizations, we already said that. Understand new medievalism. Let me just say that as we're talking about this, I really believe this coronavirus pandemic is basically leading the world toward a form of new medievalism, okay, where you're seeing a breakdown of nations and breakdowns of the ways of nations to cope with different things like that. And it's breaking things down almost to almost like a federalism where local communities are having to deal with things more than large government. So it's very interesting. So know something about that. Let's see. Just understand realism and non-realism as it affects change and continuity. Okay, know something about what realists and non-realists believe as it pertains to change and continuity. Okay, know something about Margaret Thatcher and her leadership. Okay. Know some of the critiques of the engendered peace vision. Again, the engendered peace is the logic or the argument that if women were in charge or in key places of leadership in nations, that perhaps we might have a more peaceful world. Know some of the critiques against that. Okay. How do I say this one? Again, the different paradigms and what they think of the end of history in the last chapter. Understand how each of them view economic interdependence. Some of them have a more positive view of economic interdependence. Some of them don't. So again, you'll need to read that chapter and just understand those different paradigms fairly well. Okay. Oh, goodness sakes. Okay, know what the International Monetary Fund, the IMF fund, does versus the World Bank. Okay, understand the contrast between what the IMF is supposed to be doing and what the World Bank is supposed to be doing. Again, that's in chapter 7. Okay. Okay, know the difference between the World Trade Organization and the GATT, which is, again, the GATT is the General Agreement on Trade, Tariffs and Trade. understand how the World Trade Organization kind of replaced it. Why is the World Trade Organization better than the GATT, which was established at the end of World War II? Okay. All right. Let's see what else here. I'm trying to phrase these well. Okay, understand the difference between contemporary globalization and basically globalization from 100 years ago. Okay, in other words, at the time of World War I, at the turn of the 20th century, there was all kinds of globalization, but it's very, very different in this day and age. Okay, there's a lot more interconnectedness going on, and the speed of communication is better, and you've got obviously the internet and things of that nature. Okay, understand what the European Union is, how it differs from other different unions within that particular chapter. Okay, again, know what the European Union is. As it pertains to an economic union, as it pertains to a tariff union, as it pertains to a free trade union, as it pertains to a customs union. Again, understand the levels of integration and where the European Union falls in that, and what type of integration is there for a tariff union as opposed to an economic union, and things of that nature, okay, to kind of understand that. Okay, know the UN Millennium Development Goals. Okay, understand something about the UN Millennium Development Goals. Understand what the Washington Consensus is. Understand what the Washington Consensus is. Know what the difference is. Again, there's another question dealing with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Again, understand the difference between those two. Let's see, what else do I want to say there? Again, know something about the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Know what that is. Okay, understand, again, the advent of nuclear weapons. How is that different as they emerged after Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II? How did that change warfare? How did that change international relations? Okay, just understand that. There's a section in that chapter, in chapter 4, about nuclear weapons and how they changed international relations, okay? Okay, understand what a security community is. Compare and contrast a security community with something like NAFTA, or a security community, contrast that between that and perhaps a European Union, something like that. Know what power transition theory is. Know something about power transition theory. Okay, know what was the relationship between the end of the Cold War and the frequency of wars. Okay, there was a section there in chapter 4, and there's a PowerPoint that talked about the frequency of wars as the Cold War ended. Okay, know something about terrorism, contemporary terrorism. Again, understand that in the chapter 4 about war. Okay, know something about asymmetric warfare as it applies to the Ukraine. Okay, the Ukraine and what the Russians did in Crimea is an example of asymmetric warfare. Review that within chapter 4 in that text, okay? Again, you're gonna have to know just war theory, so you have to know jus in bellum, jus ad bellum. You might even need to know something about jus post bellum. Again, justice after war. What is just? What's the right thing to do? So again, know those 3 areas: jus in bellum, jus ad bellum, jus post bellum. Okay. Understand something about democratic peace theory. Understand the pros and the cons. Okay, there are pros to it. There are also cons of it. understand constructivism and how they would explain global peace and how you would achieve it. Okay, how does a constructivist think that we can achieve peace? Know the difference between mad, mutually assured destruction from the nuclear utilization theory, nuts, okay? The nuclear utilization theory was something advocated by President Reagan, okay? The acronym NUTS was actually a pejorative against his theory, but he had, a way of thinking how the United States could be protected in the midst of the Cold War from the Russians, okay? Know something about the Bretton Woods system, what that's all about? The Bretton Woods system. Know how neo-Marxists view international relations. Okay, how do neo-Marxists think peace can be achieved versus something like what the realists would think? Okay, neo-Marxists have a unique way of looking at the world. Understand that. Again, they're always thinking of the haves and the have-nots. They're thinking of some form of revolution. They're thinking of, America does what it does because of its capitalist inclinations, and that creates problems for nations that do not have as much, and that creates basically an atmosphere for war. So kind of understand that. So again, neo-Marxism, there's another question on neo-Marxism, 2 questions at least on neo-Marxism. Know what Adam Smith advocated, know what Karl Marx advocated, and know what Alexander Wendt, W-E-N-D-T, advocated. So Adam Smith, Karl Marx, and Alexander Wendt. Know what autarky is, A-U-T-A-R-K-Y, autarky. Know what autarky is. Know what pacifism is, and know what pacifists argue for when it comes to warfare. Again, know what hegemony means and what realists think that hegemony is, or what hegemony means. In other words, America enjoys a large degree of hegemony in the world today, in this kind of sub-unipolar moment. Know how realists think about that. Okay, know what the stability-instability paradox is. The stability-instability paradox. Know the components of democracy, okay? We talked about this a little bit as far as, a popular sovereignty and a minimal package of a form of rights. Again, know what the base package of democracy is. Again, there's another question that deals with the various paradigms at the end of history. Okay, the Great Power War, Clash of Civilizations, One World, End of History. Again, you'll need to know those in Chapter 9. There's another question on the engendered peace, so make sure you're familiar with that. Again, that's in Chapter 9. Again, there's another question dealing with the end of history. Again, Chapter 9. Know something about a norm cascade. Okay, know something about a norm cascade as it pertains to international relations. There's a section there in your text about that. Know what a democratic deficit is. Okay, know what a democratic deficit is. Again, know the relationship between realists and the balance of power. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to continue in another video because, again, I don't want these to be too long for you.